Torah Guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.
Shalom, 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 Yashar'el, Yahudah. Listen, we at it again. We do this because we recognize that it is imperative to obey Yah. Because if Yahuah tells you to do something, you better obey, right? Listen, I do it because he's been good to me. Listen, I do it because I love Yahuah. I do it because I'm mandated. I understand what Yahuah requires, but listen, I love Yahuah. He ain't twisting my arm to get on here and deliver to you the word of Yahuah because I love Yahuah and I love his word. He's been good to me. So very good to me. And I just want to say thank you, Yah. Yahuah, I give you praise for your witness. I thank you for Yahusha HaMashiach, the mediator, the reconciliator of us, Yaakov, to you and to the other nations that received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. I give you praise, Yahuah, for all that you're doing in the midst of me, all you're doing in the midst of this people, all those that are under the sound of my voice that receive your word by the Ruach HaKadosh and testify to the truth of your word, your witness, Yahusha HaMashiach, of whom you have sworn and will not repent. That is a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. You've been good to me. You have removed sin consciousness from me. You have purged me through the blood of Yahusha. You have given me your Ruach HaKadosh. Yahuah, you've been good to me. Yahuah, I pray that you take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuah, allow the words that I say to speak life, peace to those that hear it. And Yahuah, I pray that every word that I speak would be a blessing, would not cause anyone to stumble, would not cause anyone to be turned out of the way. It would not cause anyone to come up lame. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I give you praise. Let the words of my mouth, meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, Yahuah, my strength and my redeemer. Listen, Hebrews to none other than Hezekiah. Song is entitled Good to Me. I don't own the rights to this music. By Hezekiah. Listen, he's been good to me, y'all. He's been good to me. Listen, Yah's been good to me. He's been good to me. He's been good to me. And I just want to say thank you, Yah. He's been good to me. So very good to me. And I just want to say thank you, thank you. Hallelujah. Listen, between listening to this Ak and playing Barnea, Israel's Hidden Hebrews in my truck when I'm driving, yeah, when I'm Ubering, listen, he's all I need. Yahuah is all I need. Hallelujah. We going in. Listen. We're in Corinthians, right? And you know, one thing about Corinthians, right? The book of Corinthians is a book that focuses on teaching, right? Discipline. Teaching, the need to be disciplined, right? Understanding what being in the witness requires, right? Things that are expected from you and things that aren't expected from you, right? Because in the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, we have to understand that because of the water and because of the blood, right, we've been cleansed, right? We all understand that from a Hebraic culture, right? Even when it came to coming before the high priest with the offering, we had to be cleansed. We had to wash. We had to scrub. We had to clean up. The high priest had to wash. He had to scrub. He had to clean up. He had to wash after he performed the sacrifices in the service of Yahuwah. So he washed before, did his sacrifice, then washed afterwards. We had an obligation as the people of Yahuwah to wash, to cleanse our bodies before we came to Yahuwah with an offering, right? So we understand the need for the washing and the blood. You know, we should understand that because we know that without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness of sins. You can't have your sins forgiven under the Hebraic covenant without having a sacrifice. Our ancestors had always offered up sacrifices. Abraham taught Yaakov. Yitzhak taught Yaakov. Listen, you have to understand that this was the process. So you got to wash, right? You got to be baptized, right? You got to be washed. You got to be ceremonially cleansed. Then you got to have an offering, right? You got to have something to present to the priest for the remission of your sins, right? Right? Yahusha is that water, right? You have to be washed. You got to follow ceremonial washing and cleansing. You got to go down in the water, right? And come up, which is a symbol of washing and cleaning, but it's also a type of being raised from the dead. Putting off your old man and coming up new, right? Resurrection, right? Coming up a new man. You got to be born again. You got to receive the water. You got to receive the blood. Without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sin. Yahusha has provided you a sacrifice. You know, as a people of Yahuwah, before Yahusha HaMashiach died for us all and bore all our sins, we were responsible as individuals for our sacrifices that we presented to the high priest who presented them to Yahuwah. Right? Listen, if you turn to Yahuwah, right, you know who you are. You woke up to the being the people, right? So you know you in your sins. So you got to turn to a high priest. You got to turn to a high priest that is capable of presenting a sacrifice for you. Brew, you got to have a high priest that can present a sacrifice for you. And this high priest has to be set apart unto you. Yahuwah has designated this individual high priest. And, you know, that's all been decayed and faded away. Oh, yeah, it's in the text. Yahuwah said he was going to do it. He told Eli he was going to do it. You got to have a high priest who can offer an offering into a tabernacle and meet with Yahuwah. Gotta have it, right? And without this, there's no forgiveness. There's no reconciliation. There's no restoration. No restoration. See, in order to return back to your place in Yahuwah, you have to have a process and follow that process. And the only way to get that accomplished is through Yahusha Mashiach. Restoration has finally come. I've been restored back to my place in Yah. Restoration has finally come. I've been restored back to my place in Yah. What would I know about being restored if I never lost my place? What would I know about his mercy if I hadn't gotten out of grace? It reminds me of The prodigal son, after his riotous living, all the evil he had done. Yet when he returned, the father received him home, gave him a ring of gold, put him on a robe, killed the fatted calf, gave him something he never ever had, restoration. Listen, bro, the only way you're going to be restored back to your place in Yah is through Yahusha Mashiach, who is the high priest forever, who is the Lamb of Yahuwah that has went into the Shamayim, who was risen from the dead, who has all power. He has the keys of death and hell. Listen, that's the only way. Right? And because this is become, because you've received this, right? Right? In Emunah, you've been made free from sin. The consciousness of sin is removed. Right? Right? The propensity to do sin is not there. Because it's not in you. You ain't dead. Your motivation ain't what Hasatan has put in you. You've been made free from that. Right? Your Emunah has delivered you from the powers of death. In Yahushua Mashiach's witness, you are now in the kingdom of Yahuwah Elohaynu. Yahuwah, kingdom of Yahuwah Elohaynu. You are in Yahuwah's kingdom. Right? We still wait for the fullness of the manifestation. It's like creation waited for the fullness of the manifestations of the sons of Elohaynu, but they know who we are already. We who received the witness. You got to understand, you got to have this witness on the inside of you. You got to be set apart as his by the Ruach HaKodesh. This is what you must understand. And you know, with this comes, right, an understanding of what you are to be doing in your day-to-day life. Right? The Ruach HaKodesh is going to lead you and guide you into our truth every day. Right? But you also have to understand that there is a need for spiritual discipline. Yahusha is giving you what you need. Yahuwah is giving you what you need to get your job done. You may have all the tools in the world, but if you don't use the tools, what you going to build? What you going to fix? You have to be established in this witness. You have to be established in this witness. All right, let's go on. We are in Corinthians, the 6th chapter, right? We left off at Corinthians, the 5th chapter, and you know, again, when you read these letters, you know, they're broken down in chapters, but you know, the theme is pretty much established in the beginning, and it's carried on throughout all the chapters, right? And you have to understand that. You know, you may shift ideas to a degree, but the foundation of which the letter was written is going to be witnessed and seen throughout the entire epistle, right? So Paul is talking in that 5th chapter. We're going to hit that latter part of that 5th chapter because that's going to really move into that 6th chapter. But it says he was talking about he says in that 5th chapter, the 11th verse, but now I have written unto you not to keep company with any man who's called a brother, right? He calls himself a brother, right? But in reality, he's a fornicator. He ain't a brother. He just calls himself a brother, right? He calls himself a brother because he's not alive in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach if he's fornicating. Come on, don't be tricked. Oh, you know, that's my Aki. Yeah, you Aki a fornicator. No, he ain't your Aki. He a fornicator. She ain't your Koti. She a fornicator. Right? And you ain't even supposed to keep company with fornicators. And he ain't talking about the people in the world because the people in the world are people who they are, and Yahuwah going to judge the world. But in the body of Yahushua HaMashiach, listen, if you a fornicator and you claiming to be a brother, look, you got to be dealt with. Right? Right? You got to have leaders that have the Ruach HaKodesh that can come together and deal with your behavior. Right? And in so many in uncertain terms, you need to be excommunicado. Right? And yeah. Turn such a one over to Hasatan to destroy his flesh. Right? With the hopes that from what he has witnessed, his ruach, he may be able to be delivered spiritually, coming to the end of the torment of Hasatan in his flesh, receive the witness and be saved. Because he ain't got Yeshua until he repents. He ain't got Yeshua until he receives the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and Yahuwah's Ruach. Right? He said, don't keep company with them. Don't keep company with fornicators. People that say they are of the Yahudim, they are of the witness, they have received Yahusha and have his Ruach HaKodesh, and they fornicators. They lying. They saying something they're not. Right? What did he say up in, he says here. He says, let us therefore keep the feast, right? Let us keep Yahusha's witness, right? Keep Yahusha's bread, right? Unleavened. Let us keep ourselves in the witness, free from sin, right? Right? Not with old leaven, right? Not allowing, right, our minds, right, to conform back to what we've been delivered from, right? Neither with the unleaven of malice, right? You know, Paul is talking to people who's sitting back and have a Ruach HaKodesh that love you, that love the witness, right? But they, you know, I'm of a Paul and I'm of Apollos. My Aki is better than your Aki. You know, we understand more because of the articulation of Apollos. Shaul don't talk like that, right? Just carnal, you carnal, right. But you know, not in malice and wickedness, right? Because that's wicked. That's malice. That's getting upset and angry, having contentions over stuff like this, right? Contentions. Right? Chloe, look, Paul, look. They arguing, they fighting over you and Apollos. And while they fighting over that, don't nobody addressing the fact that this young man has had his father's wife. Right? Right? Because you're carnal, you're not disciplined. You're not established spiritually and disciplined. You don't see the forest for the trees before the trees for the forest. Forest for the trees. Anyway, you can't see nothing, right? Because you ain't spiritual. Paul said, I can't deal with you as spiritual. I can't deal with you as men and women who are moving all the time in the Ruach HaKodesh, that are led by the Ruach HaKodesh. I got to deal with you as carnal. I got to tell you, stop it. Because you babe. Stop that. Don't do that. Stop that. Don't do that. I got to treat you like babies. Right? Because you don't understand. You should. You know, you should be at the point where, you know, I mean, you got the Ruach HaKodesh, you're moving in the gifts, you know, you're rich. But you're arguing over stuff. Right? These Gentiles, though, and Gentiles, you know, they was different. And Yahudim, they had divisions, right? But, you know, the Gentiles come from a point of reference that is totally different from the Yahudim, right? So Paul's like, listen. He says, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Because these brothers ain't sincere. Oh, no. They call themselves brothers, but they ain't sincere. They're fornicators. They're not sincere. They're not walking in the truth. Imposters amongst the assemblies. It's commonly reported. You don't keep company with them. You judge them. Pause. I'm a judge of myself. You judge them. I've judged them, and I'm not even there. You should have judged them, but you can't because you're carnal. You're carnal. Your focus is not on the witness as it should be, and you're not discerning the conduct of people that are about you. And yet some of y'all know and y'all ain't doing nothing about it. You know that brother's a fornicator. You know that sister's a fornicator. You know they fornicate. No. Got to deal with that. It's because this ain't Christianity, y'all. Christianity's full of a bunch of fornicators. From the pulpit to the door. Fornicators. From the pulpit to the door. Fornicators. Men and women. Fornicators. In the temple every Sunday. Fornicators. Adulterers. Pornonias. Every day. Oh, every day. Every day. Yeah. TD Fake said there's a place for pornonia in the church. He did an interview with, I was watching, did an interview, and TD Jake said there's a place for those who are conducting their lives in pornonia in the church. Listen, this ain't that. This ain't that. You can't be in pornonia. Let's do this again. 4202. 4202. Pornonia. Right? Pornonia. Right? It is adultery. Right? Fornication. It is homosexuality. Right? It's lesbianism. It is sex with animals. It is sex with close relatives. Strong's Concordance. 4202. G. It is intercourse with close relatives, sexual relationship, illicit sexual relationships with close relatives. And sexual relationship, adultery, between a man and a woman that are divorced. Paul said, you ain't got nothing to do with them folk. Those that call themselves brothers. And the witness. Liars. Because they functioning in pornonia. Right? Pornonia is rampant in the Christian church. Listen, right? It was the church I was in. Right? I ain't going to say the name of the church, but it was an AME church. And we in service one day. I don't know what service this was, but right. And, you know, comes this transgender, I think he was. Or he was trans dresser. Anyway, it was a man. I'm you know, I'm looking at this. And they're the whole service, right? Participating, clapping their hands, you know, doing everything everybody else is doing. What? What? Pornonia. See, Shaul says, see, and this is the tough thing about the truth, right? You can't handle the truth. The truth is, that's pornonia. I think it's supposed to be even in the church, in the assembly. And I think you gotta ask yourself, if there's that much liberty and freedom that you feel entering into the Lord's house, something wrong. Something wrong. Listen, something wrong. He says not to even keep company with fornicators. He ain't talking about people in the world. He says, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetousness, or the extortioners, or the idolaters, for then we must need to go out the world. We got to get away from the world. You got to leave the world in order to get away from these people. Because these people are already marked for death. They've already marked for death. Their father is Hasatan. You can't get away from them, right? They're going to be there. They're going to be around. But see, them who say they are brothers or sisters that are knowingly engaged in pornonia, illicit sexual behavior. Because there's this pornonia is a wretched, destructive thing, right? Because a man sins against his own body, and he sins against Yahuah. It's this wretched thing, right? Right? That's why Yahuah says it's better to marry than to burn, right? You have desires. You have desire for someone. Y'all need to get married, right? Y'all don't need to live together. You need to get married. Now, I'm not talking about, talking about making a commitment before Yahuah, because traditionally in Yashar'el, we had a way of entering into unions, not this European, Eurocentric way. There is a way of that we united man and woman, right, in a marital relationship, right? Commitment for life, right? It's a commitment for life, right? Only way it was allowed for the covenant to be broken was through pornonia, fornication, right? So you shouldn't even have any company with them. They shouldn't have ease in coming up into your congregation, right? Without the motivation of repentance and turning and receiving Yahusha, a Mashiach that could come in and cleanse them, and then be in a place where they are hearing the word and developing and disciplining themselves in this witness to be the men or the women they are supposed to be. He said not to even keep company with him. He says, for what have I to do to judge them also that are without? I can't judge the world. Who is going to judge the world? Right? See, in this witness, as a leader, right, I should be in a position to where I judge what happens within the assemblies, right, in order to maintain order, Yahuwah's order. Because it's about Yahuwah's order, it ain't about mine, it's about Yahuwah's. And Yahuwah don't take kindly to me allowing, as his leader, full of the Ruach HaKodesh, people in his assemblies doing what they wanted to do in fornication, in pornography. Cut it out, Kadar, go lay down. Who don't take kindly to that? No consequences. You get puffed up. You should have judged such a one. Well, you can't judge nobody. Who you to judge me? Listen, in the house of Yahuwah, if you're a fornicator and you want to continue a fornicator, I'll judge you. I will put you out. You can go be a fornicator in somebody else's church that allow you in there. Go sleep with somebody else's. Go on, because you want to anyway, because all you want to do is fornicate. He says, but them that are without Alua judges, therefore put away from among you yourselves this wicked person. So Yahuwah is going to judge everybody outside the world, but in the assemblies, right? That person who says they're a brother, but they're not sincere and they're not in the truth, right? But they in there. You put them out. Well, would they be of the world? No. Once they crossed into the assemblies, they fall under the jurisdiction of Yahuwah. Yahuwah judges through us in the assemblies. Right, now listen, you got to understand, this is just not something I heard. You got to have witnesses. You got to have 2 to 3 witnesses. But Shaul said, listen, at this one point, this was commonly reported. Commonly? You know what it means to have something commonly reported under you? Every time you turn around, you hear, hey, Aki, did you hear about more? Or, hey, Elder, did you hear about what's happening over in Chloe's house? Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah. Chloe. Yeah. Hi, Maury. Listen, Maury. We got problems in this. We got problems in there. Yeah. You got people fighting over position and whose Maury is greater. They arguing over unipows. Not to mention, we got this brother that's taking his father's wife. Commonly reported. Then you got other people come and tell him. Things should not be, right? Now, we're going into the 6th chapter. Now, the 6th chapter is, because it's a continuation of the 5th chapter. He says, dare any of you having a matter against another to go to the law before the unjust and not before the qodeshiym? Listen, what? You mean to tell me you got a problem in the congregation, in the assemblies, right? And you going to leave the assemblies, the jurisdiction of the righteous, to go to the jurisdiction of the unrighteous? You going to let these people, right, who judge matters unrighteously, that say they judge righteously, you going to put them into your hands? See, now listen, this is the thing, right? The Gentiles just had a way that they did things. You had a problem. They ran to the magistrates, and they went. And Yeshua said, wait a minute, Shaul said, like, nah, that's not how we do things. You should be able to judge a matter, right? Like you have Yahudi, you have a qodeshiym, you have those who have the Ruach HaKodesh, you have those that are mature and elders, right? Just select a couple of them, select them, and have them judge the matter. And we hold ourselves accountable to the matter for you. Don't you go be going to no, don't you be going to them. See, now the Yahudim, see, we understood this. See, and that's why Shaul didn't say, it's the custom of the Yahudim that you select from among you. Now, he never said that, right? He never said, it's what we do as the Yahudim. No, what he just said was, listen, this is the way it should be because you have the Ruach HaKodesh. You have the witness of Yahusha. You should be able to find from among you. Now, let's look at Deuteronomy, the first chapter, right? And he said, the words which Mosheh spake unto all Israel on the side of Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain, over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Lavan, and Hazeroth, and Diazab, right? 11 days from Horeb, by the way of Mount Seir, unto Qadesh Barnea, right? And it came to pass in the 40th year, right? 40 years in the wilderness. It came to pass. It ended. Come to an end. In the 11th month of the first day of the month, Mosheh spake unto all the children of Yashar'el according to all that Yahuah had given in commandments unto them, right? Right? After he had killed the king of Ciychon, right? Of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, right? Which dwelt in Ashtaroth, in Edre'iy, right? He says, on this side Jordan, in the land of Moab, right? Began Moshe to declare this law, saying, Yahuah Elohaynu spake unto us in Chorev, saying, ye have dwelt long enough in this mountain. He says, turn you and take your journey and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all nigh thereunto in the plains, in the hills, and in the valleys, and in the south by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. He says, and behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land, which Yahuah swore unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them, to their seed after them, right? Right? And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. Right? And I can't judge you alone, right? He says, for Adonai, or Yahuah, your Adonai, hath multiplied you, and behold ye this day as the stars of the heaven in multitude. So listen, 40 years later, man, listen, I can't judge all of the stuff that you have for me. Can't do it. He said, I can't do it. It's too much, right? I can't deal with every matter. It's too much, right? Right? He says, and Yahuah Elohaynu of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as ye, and bless you, and hath promised you. So he your numbers is huge, right? How can I myself alone bear your encumbrances or your issues, your problems, your civil suits, your issues, right? He says, and your burdens and your strife. So let's look at the word cumbrance. That's the Hebrew word. That means
Strong's H 2960. Torah.
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 Torah. Your burdens, your Torah, right? He says the root word is terah.
Strong's H 2959. Tarach.
Tarah.
Tarach.
Tarah. It means burdened, toil, or be burdened, right? I can't bear your toil, your burdens, your encumbrances, right? Right? They were wearying him. There was too much, right? Right? So he says, your burdens and your strifes, right? Your strifes, you know what strife is, right? Strife is
Strong's H 7379. Reeve.
Reeve.
And second entry, Riv.
Riv. Strife.
And third entry, Riv.
The last two sounded exactly alike, right? Strife, controversies, disputes, quarrels, arguments, right? Quarrels over matters that you would rather run to the world civil authority, right, to have them render a verdict for you and your brother in the witness of the Yahusha and Mosheh, right? So he's saying here, he says, take you wise men, you some seasoned men, elders, right? And understanding, those who have understanding, discernment, right? Known among your tribes, right? Find these people in Yahudah. Find these people in Zebulun and Naphtali. Find these people, right? And I will make them rulers, judges over you. Right? They gonna begin to handle your disputes, right? Right? Because this is Yahuwah's way. Right? Because now you are under the leadership, the authority of a Torah. Yahuwah's Torah. You are under the supervision of Yahuwah's priest. Right. But, even the priests, they have responsibilities in terms of handling offerings and preparing sacrifices and doing the service of Yahuwah. We have to have somebody to be able to mediate and to render verdicts and judgments over civil disputes. Right? It's part of what we did. It was our culture. Right? Civil disputes, right? It's interesting because over on the continent, man, right? They trying to impose. No, the Western world is trying to impose on the continent, right? These pornonia ideas that on the continent they judge differently, actually severely. Right? Because you couldn't be in pornonia on the continent, some countries, most of the countries, right? Operating and engaging in pornea, right? And not be judged. And you caught in the very act of pornea, right? Homosexuality. Caught in the act of lesbianism. Call yourself a transgender, you going to jail. You going to prison. Pornonia. Listen, I'm not making this up. This is the truth. This documented truth, right? But you got to have a judge that can judge these matters. Shaul said you should have been able to judge this. You got to put the wicked out. Got to deal with that. Got to judge matters. Got to judge civil matters. Got to judge these things, right? He says, and ye answered me and said, the thing which you have spoken is good to do, right? So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made heads over you, and captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50. Captive over tens and officers. Why? To be able to deal with civil disputes, with issues, with problems, with things that arise, and they will deal with it in relationship to what they have learned and understood by Torah. And the things that they can't do or handle, right? They're going to bring them to Mosheh. He says, and I charged your judges at that time, saying, here, between your brethren, and judge righteously. Right? Between man and his brother and the strangers, Gentiles. Right? With him. Judge righteously between the Gentiles or strangers, the strangers, right? And the Yahudim, judge righteously, right? You shall not have respect of person in judgment. You ain't gonna judge this man favorably because you know he got more money than this man. You ain't gonna penalize this man because he's rich and this man isn't, but this man is wrong. He said, you shall not respect a person in judgment. You shall hear the small as well as the great people, individuals, right? And ye shall not be afraid of their faces. Why? Because Mosheh has given them the authority by Yahuah to do what he's called you to do, and you ain't got nothing to fear in offering righteous judgment. There is no fear in righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is righteous judgment, right? He says, you shall not be afraid of the faces of man, for the judgment allure, right? And the cause that is too hard for you unto me, and I will hear it. If it's too difficult for you to hear, I'll hear it. Now listen, you got tens, you got officers of tens, 50s, hundreds, thousands, right? And captains over them. If the guy that's over 10 can't handle his dispute, he goes to the guy that's over 50. Guy at 50 can't handle that, he goes to the hundreds, and so on and so on, right? But the idea is there matters that you should be able to judge, except, you know, those ones that are really complicated, you can bring them to me, right? But that's the order of how it's done. You have righteous people who are amongst the nation of Yashar'el that are to give righteous judgment. Now, this is the problem that occurred, right? Right? They didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh. They didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh. They had Torah. And all they had to do was judge according to Torah. right? But because they didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh, they didn't keep Torah. So their judgments were going to be flawed. Sometimes the judgment was going to be too severe. Now, fast forward to Corinthians. Yahusha HaMashiach, having cleansed us from sin consciousness, having swept clean our temples, having given us his righteousness, in Emunah, having his Ruach HaKodesh, right? You should be able to judge matters within the assemblies. Should be able to judge matters within the assemblies. Sister got a problem with another sister. She said the sister took something that was hers. What? Okay. What did she take? You got proof that that's yours? I don't know what to do with the receipt. Okay. Anyone see you buy it? Anyone can vouch for you that was yours? You got witnesses that you bought that? You got witnesses you said you seen her take it? Gotta judge the matter. You don't go up to the system of this world against your brother. Listen, there's going to be things that arise between you and your brother, but listen, you know what? Some things you just should suffer. No, you ain't do nothing wrong, right? You know you ain't said nothing wrong to that sister. You know you bought that dress. She probably just had one just like it, right? Give her the dress. Because we do the things that work peace. He said, do ye not know that the qodeshiym shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matter? Right? Because, you know, there's going to come a time when, even as Yahuwah's qodeshiym in his kingdom, there are going to be people around the kingdom and outside the kingdom of Yahuwah, right? They're going to need to be judged. And you're going to do it. As Yahuwah's witness, Yahuwah has established his kingdom in the Edre'iy. Yeah, there's going to be accountability. People are going to be still having to be accountable. You're going to judge these things. He says, listen, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? Now, if you stuck in the 5th chapter, because in the 5th chapter it says, he says, but them that are without Alua judges, right? Therefore, put away from among you that witness wicked person, because he says in that 11th verse, that 5th chapter, but now I have written unto you not to keep company with any man that is a brother is an idolater. We got to there. And then he said, verse 12, for what have I to do to judge them that are without? He said, I don't judge people outside the world. Right? Now you would think that's a contradiction of what he just said, but it's not. Because where we are in the witness now, right? Yahusha's kingdom has not physically been manifested in the Edre'iy, even though his dominion has been established. Hasatan's dominion has been bruised. Yahusha's taken dominion back. He has the keys to death and hell. We understand this, right? But we know that right now we can judge a matter in this assembly, right? But when you get back to, because it says, for what have I to do to judge them that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within, right? You're supposed to judge people that are within. He says, but to them that are without Elua judges, right? And then Shaul says, do ye not know that the qodeshiym, the saints, shall judge the world, shall judge in the immediate future when Yahuwah's kingdom is come? Oh yeah, because the kingdom, Yahusha is going to be seated on the throne, but we still going to execute judgment to those that are without the Jerusalem, the city, because only the righteous come in Jerusalem. And there are going to be things that we're just going to have to judge in righteousness. He says, listen, he said, you're going to judge the world, right? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matter? You can't deal with these small things in your assemblies? You going to go to the law. Go to Judge Judy. Judge Joe. All the rest of them judge shows. You're going to go to them, have them, make you look like a fool. That's what they're going to do to you. Taking your mother to the court system. Both of y'all love Yahuwah. You in the body, and you mad at her, and you're going to take her to court. What the hell? You carnal. You're carnal. You need to renew your mind. All this stuff is due to discipline. All this stuff is due to a lack of spiritual discipline. Spiritual discipline. If you got spiritual discipline, you gonna be strong. But if you ain't got spiritual discipline, you're gonna be a problem. You're gonna be a problem. Eventually, you're gonna sin, and eventually, you're gonna be put out. Listen, he says, know ye not that you shall judge angels? You gonna judge angels, right? Right. Now, I can't imagine there any judgment to the righteous angels, right? I mean, you may give instruction to angels, right? Once we are in the kingdom of Yahuwah, because, we sons of Elua. And if we sons of Elua, our place and position is above angels. We going to participate in the judgment of these wicked angels, these fallen angels, right? He says, know ye not that ye shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? You gonna bring judgment into the realm of the Shamayim and the Ruach spirit and judge it, and you can't judge stuff now here. Can't judge this stuff now here. He says, if then ye have judgment of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are at least in the assemblies. Listen, if you got a problem with judging it, find the people that are least, right? Right? Find those people who don't know much about anybody. They ain't in nobody's clique. They ain't in none of that. Find the least, right? The least esteemed. Yeah, don't get mother this and Moray this and Akoti and Aki this, right? Everybody know them, esteems them, and no. Get sister in the back that's cooking. Get bruh that's always out cleaning up the sanctuary and cutting grass. Get that Ema that's in the back with them sanctified kids of yours. Let them judge the matter, right? Let them do the judging. That's because That's because you lack spiritual discipline. You lack spiritual discipline. He says, I speak this to your shame. It's a shame that you have the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Because you're all puffed up, sitting in the seat of being a convert of Apollos and of Shaul and of Cephas, lifting up your moray to become your idol, your Morah, your Emas, your mores, your elders. It's a shame. You can't judge a matter. And Ruach HaKodesh. I speak like this because it's a shame. It's a shame. Is it so that there's not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. And the reason why he's talking to him like this is because there's contentions. And you got the Ruach HaKodesh. You've received the witness of Yahuah and Yahusha. You're rich in the Ruach HaKodesh. You don't come behind in any gifts. Yeah, Chloe got to come tell me that y'all arguing. She got to tell me, and a bunch of other people got to tell me, you got some brother taking his father's wife. Some dude say he a brother. It's a shame. You can't even deal with matters. He says, but a brother goes to the law with a brother, and that before unbelievers, seeking justice from the unrighteous. This don't even sound right. The righteous seeking justice from the unrighteous. Got to be able to judge a matter. Right? Well, I can't judge that. That ain't my assembly. It's a shame. See, it's a shame because, even in the awakening, right? Even in this awakening, in this awakening, right? There's not enough of the quickening in order for a quickened body to be able to come together, right? Those that are of Apollos, and those that are of Paul, and those that are of Cephas, and those that are of Mashiach, come together, right? Hear of something that's happening, and I judge it. Judge. But we got a whole bunch of awakened folk. We ain't got no quickened folk. You know what? And another thing too. Listen. If you always trying to prepare and get sin out of you, you ain't received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. You haven't received the quickening. If you walking around trying to get the sin out of your life, right, you don't know what it means to receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and to be established in Emunah in this witness. You're going to battle your mind, right? But you got to spiritually transform it. You got to spiritually renew it. You got to give it the Basora, the Torah of truth. You got to deny your flesh. You got to fast and pray. You got to win the battle of the mind. Yahusha has already swept the house clean. You don't understand the witness, man. That's why you said you got to teach my people. They got to receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. They got to have the Ruach HaKodesh because you don't understand it. It's because, if you had it that way, then you would be able to judge a matter. Right? You'd be able to judge a brother between the brothers, right? Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you. This is your fault, right? Because you can't deal with this issue or the issues that come up. This is a fault, right? Because you have the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. You receive the Ruach HaKodesh. You have the word, the Basora of Yahusha Mashiach before you. You can't get it together. This is a fault. This is a problem, right? Right? Among you. Because you go to the law with one another. It's a problem. It's a fault. You the people of Yahuah, and you can't exercise judgment, righteous judgment. And even if you're struggling, you can't find righteous people to mediate your situation and agree to accept the judgment that they render. It's a problem. It's a fault. Right? Listen, he says, why do you not rather take wrong? Listen, instead of allowing yourselves to go and argue before the unbelievers, right, which makes you look bad, right, makes Yahuah looks bad, makes you in Yahuah look bad, because Yahuah always gonna look good, but it makes you make him look. It's rather suffer wrong. Don't argue with that woman over that dress. Get that woman that dress. She put up that kind of fuss. Give it to her. Some things you just got to suffer. It's just better to suffer. It's better to suffer them things. Yeah, it's better to suffer. It's better to suffer some things. In order for you to move on your behalf and bless you, it's better to suffer some things. It is better to suffer some things. Better to suffer some things. Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do ye not rather be defrauded? Just go ahead and suffer it. You know you ain't wrong, but it's okay. Suffer it. Nay, you do wrong, and defraud, and that brethren. Nay, you do wrong. You do wrong. You default your brother because you go to the law. And because you go to the law and not go to your brother, you defraud him. He says, Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Lord? Now, why would Paul need to say this? Because Paul understood the road that they were traveling down. Right? Because, yes, they received the witness. Yes, they had the Ruach HaKodesh. Yes, they moved in the gifts. But listen, if you remain carnal, you're going to inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. Because your carnality is going to pull you back into sin. You don't deal with your carnal nature. If you don't become spiritually disciplined, if you don't renew your mind, you don't transform the way you think, you are going to go back into what you were. You are going to be a fornicator out of the will of Yahuwah. You and Yahusha ain't going to live in you. They ain't going to occupy that temple. Right? And guess what's going to happen? You're going to get excommunicado because you become a fornicator. You become a riler. He said, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Lord? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor adulterers. Right? Don't be deceived. That's all kinds of deception in Christianity, right? Because in Christianity, you can be a fornicator. They judging your fornication. You get one fornicator in the church, you're going to leaven the whole lump. See, he said the unrighteous. These are unrighteous people. They're not entering into the kingdom of Yahuwah. We who receive the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh and who have been swept clean and who have Yahuwah and Yahusha on the inside of us, we are his. We have an inheritance in the kingdom. We have an inheritance. Ephesians 1 and 13, in whom after ye trusted, whom also that ye released your emunah, in whom ye also, after that ye heard the Torah of truth, right? The Basora of Yeshua, in whom also ye believed, ye were sealed. You had emunah in it. You believed the witness. You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh, a promise, which is the down payment of our inheritance. Right? He's giving you the down payment. Right? To your inheritance, unto the redemption of the purchased possession, until the kingdom of Yahuwah comes to gather and establish his kingdom. Subjects. His kingdom, his subjects. Unto the praise of his glory. Right? Right? Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit? They don't have no inheritance in the kingdom of Yahuwah. The unrighteous don't have the Ruach HaKodesh. In whom also, after that ye heard the Basora, the word, the Torah of truth, Yahusha Mashiach, after you heard the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, the Basora of your Yeshua, the good news of your Yeshua, your Yeshua, right? in whom also after that you had emunah, you believed, right? Right? You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh of promise. Give me the Ruach HaKodesh. He gave you more than you need. He gave you what you needed to get the job done, right? Which is the earnest of your inheritance. It's your down payment. He gave it to you. It's a down payment, right? Right? Until the redemption of the purchased possession, the redemption of the children of Yashar'el, because that's the purchased possession. Yahusha purchased us with his blood. We became the purchased possession, right? Unto the praise of his glory, right? Afterwards, after you heard after I heard, that's a pause, having heard of your faith. But the idea is, the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahuah. The unrighteous don't have his Ruach HaKodesh. The righteous don't have the earnest of the inheritance. Yahuah does not dwell in unclean temples. Yahuah does not dwell in an unclean temple. Yahuah does not dwell in a temple that it has porneia. He says, be not tricked. Do not fall under deception. Don't believe that you can keep asking Yahuah to forgive you, forgive me for lust, forgive me for lust, forgive me for lust, forgive me for fornication, forgive me for porneia, forgive me for homosexuality, forgive me for homosexuality, forgive me for lesbian, forgive me for lesbian, forgive me for adultery, forgive me for adultery. No, don't work like that. Not in this witness. See, you have to understand that you can't allow that mindset that was in Christianity to trickle into the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, because that ain't tolerated. He said, listen, you got a brother that's it's been reported commonly that he having sexual relationship with his mother. Gentiles don't even do that. Have his father's wife. Gentiles don't do that. He should have been excommunicado. The wickedness should have been put out of the assembly. His brother. Walking around here saying he a brother. He ain't a brother. He in fornication. Yahuwah's Ruach ain't in him. Yahuwah ain't living in him. Be not deceived. In order to be an inheritor, you have to have received the Ruach HaKodesh. In order to be righteous, you have to receive the witness, and you have to abide, remain, continue, and dwell in this witness. You have to be renewed. Your mind has to be transformed. You have to fast. You have to pray. That's why you will sense tribulation. That's why you go through tribulation, because tribulations worketh patience, patience, hope, or in some and another epistle says tribulation worketh patience, patience worketh experience, and experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed. Listen, that's why you get pressed. That's why you get pressure, right? Because the objective is to make you into what Yahuwah wants you to be. But that process is a discipline that has to occur in order for you to be a part of the kingdom of Yahuwah. If this ain't happening, then you ain't a part of the kingdom of Yahuwah. He said, listen, don't be deceived. Fornicators. First one he mentioned. Fornicators. Idolaters, idol worshippers, and idolaters. nor effeminates. Effeminate. What's an effeminate?
Strong's G 3120. Malakas. Malakas.
Malakas. Effeminate. Soft to the touch. Right? Effeminate is of a Caphamite or Catamite, right? A boy kept for homosexual relationships with a man. Man bop, man boy love. I think that's what that thing was. I think I seen something on TV about that, right? See, you will bring all these things to your remembrance, right? Right? That's effeminates. A male who submits his body to unnatural lewdness. A male prostitute. Feminine. Pornonia. Has no inheritance. Now listen, right? Now the Gentiles, right? That was customary for them. You know, I mean, they were formerly Diana temple worshipers. I think they worshiped the goddess Diana in Corinth, right? When, you know, you had the men who dressed up as women and women dressed up as men, you know, this cross-dressing kind of thing going on, you know, and they would come in and the male prostitutes would, they would come in the temple to worship, and they would come into the temple to worship, and they would give them their offering, and they would exchange sexual relationships, you know, with male prostitutes and women prostitutes. It's history, man. It's history. Effeminates. Again, that's Strong's G 3120. This is not my words. This is the Blue Letter Bible edition of the Strong's Greek number. It is in the Bible. Again, the word is
Strong's G 3120. Malakas.
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 And it means effeminate. Of a catamite. Let me see if I can get the definition for the, excuse me, for the word catamite. Enter the word here. It is catamite, a boy kept for homosexual practices. That's wicked. That's wicked. A boy. That's wicked. That's why that man bite is wicked. It's wicked. Yahuah says he gonna judge it. Do what I do. Me binji da orasa. He gonna judge it, crush it. That sin, that wickedness, he's going to destroy it. Effeminate, a boy kept for homosexual relationships with a man, a male who submits his body to unnatural lewdness. You ain't getting into the kingdom. You're not inheriting the kingdom of Yahuah. Right? Nor abusers of themselves with mankind. Now, all of these have to do with pornea. Every single one of these has to do with pornea. Adulterers. It was form of idol worship to enter into pornea. Idol worship. He says abusers of themselves with mankind. It says, the Greek word, abusers of themselves with
Strong's
mankind.
G 733. Arsenokoites.
Arsenokoites. Right? That is one who lies with a male as a female. Sodomite. A homosexual. Again, Strong's Concordance, Blue Letter Bible. The Strong's word is G733. Strong number is G733. Arsacoinite. I think that's what he said. Arsacoinite.
Strong's G 733. Arsenokoites. Arsenokoites.
Right. That's what it means. Man who lies as with a female. One who lies with a male as with a female. Abuses themselves with mankind. He says, now these people aren't going into Yahuwah's kingdom. I don't care how many I don't care how many times, I don't care how many messages they preach. I don't care how many people they pray for. They ain't going. Nor thieves, nor covetousness, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit Yahuwah's kingdom. You ain't getting in. You ain't getting in to Yahuwah's kingdom. And such were some of you. Some of y'all still messing around. Such were some of you. Some of you still in there, but some of you. You were like that, right? But you have been ceremonially washed. Because in the baptism, Yahusha said you must be born again of the water and of the Ruach HaKodesh. And Ezekiel, Yahuwah says that I will sprinkle you with clean water, and I will put my Ruach HaKodesh in you. Right? But such were some of you, right? But ye are washed. Ye are sanctified. Right? Your temple has been cleaned and purged. The sin consciousness has been removed. And yeah, you know, you got to bring this right here into the place of transformation. But you know what? Yahuwah's going to help you with that because he's going to give you tribulation. He's going to send pressure, right? But what it's going to do is going to transform this. And when this becomes transformed, then those things that used to run roughshod in here won't do it no more. Because Yahusha's transformed you, right? But such were some of you. You've been washed. Right? You've been set apart now. You've received the atonement, the blood of Yahusha. You've received the water. You've been washed. You've been sanctified through the blood of Yahusha Mashiach, right? Right? But ye are justified in the name of Adonai Yahusha by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah. Got that water. The blood in the Ruach HaKodesh. We're going to stop there. Yeah, we're going to stop there. Right, we're going to stop there. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. There's a way of conduct. There's things that we should have the capacity to do in the assemblies, even in amongst the nation, because we should, as the awakened, quickened body of Yahushua HaMashiach, have an established sense of order, right, that holds people accountable, elders accountable. You got elders up fornicating, right? Say they're in the witness. They say they brothers, right? But ain't sincere. Hey, we got to judge that. We got to judge that. You got to judge that. Yes, you have to have the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Yes, you have to have evidence, but you got to judge that. You got to judge that. Yahuwah, I pray right now in the name of Yahushua Mashiach that the words that you've given me to give to them, that they would receive it and be established in them. Yahuwah, I pray that by the Ruach HaKadosh, you would quicken, make alive, by the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, those who have a desire to hear and receive your word in Ruach and in truth, that you would strengthen them, Yahuwah. That you would strengthen them, Yahuwah. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach, strengthen them, strengthen them, strengthen them, Yahuwah, strengthen them. Strengthen them, Yahuwah, strengthen them. Strengthen them, Yahuwah, strengthen them. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach, Yahuwah. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach, quicken them, make them alive, Yahuwah. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach, I pray, Yahuwah, I pray. Yahuwah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's it. That's it. We done said what Yahuwah wanted us to say. And we're going to continue to do what Yahuwah say. So with that, man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness, woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made, listen. Judge those things that Yahuwah has called and established you in. Do what is right before Yahuwah and his people. And listen, in some cases, this is suffer wrong. Right? Suffer wrong. Right? It's okay. Yahuwah got you. Right? With that I say, man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Be blessed.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.